I have always been a natural at being a lesbian. It has always come quite easily to me. It was not like the result of some kind of trauma, and it was not a situation where like some powerful woman preyed upon me and converted me or anything like that, which is what my parents thought happened with the latter one. What actually happened was that from the years between 8th grade and 10th grade, I very organically and sweetly actually fell in love with a girl. And when we hit 10th grade and we both realized what was happening, we both realized that, hey, we're into this. And so we decided to hop on and see where this ride took us. Now, being 15, we're in this exciting, new, wonderful, blossoming relationship. We, of course, wanted to keep it secret, right? So now, the 15-year-old version of myself, had no sense of my body and time and space. So, of course, I was about adept at being discreet about things as, a billboard on a very busy highway, right? So, inevitably, my parents found out, as well as all of my older siblings. There are 5 of them. So they all found out, and they sent me to therapy, actually. It was whoever the insurance could find. So I went to see a licensed clinical social worker to talk this through. Now, my oldest sister lives in North Carolina, so she wasn't around for this, so she called me on the phone. And she said, Jen, I think it's a good idea that you're talking to a therapist about this. It's somebody neutral. Because I have to say, for myself, I don't think that it's natural. Natural. What the hell does that mean? All the ingredients in Capri Sun are all natural. You want to be more like Capri Sun? No, thank you. Right, whatever. And then another thing that happened then was that my mother took me actually to see a medical doctor. I remember at least 2 visits to the medical doctor. I don't know what she thought they were going to do. Maybe, I don't know, look in my eyes and ears and throat and listen to my heart and maybe see or feel the gay and then treat it. I'm not really sure. But I remember at one of those visits, that doctor took me into her office by myself without my mother there, and she said, honey, do you know why your mother brought you here today? And I lied, and I said, no. And she said, honey, you need to go home and talk to your mother. Now, I was 15, and it was awful and raucous in my home with my mother before my lesbian relationship. So now that this has happened, it was a billion times worse. There was no way that I was going to voluntarily talk to my mother about this. So indeed, I did not until about 10 years later, when I was out of college, and I felt safer to do so, which is to say that she couldn't kick me out of the house because I had moved out, and she couldn't cut off monetary support because she didn't pay for anything anymore. I had my own job, right? So one cold February day in 2006, I rolled up to my parents' house, and I just decided this was the day because I put it off for too long. And once I got, my teeth to stop chattering because I was so nervous, I just said to them, I said, I think that you already know this, or at least suspect it, but I am gay. And it was a supremely difficult conversation to have. My mother said a lot of things that I found to be very hurtful. One of them was, in her broken English, this is how she speaks English, I can't believe I born you and you like this. Which meant I can't believe I gave birth to you and you're like this, which I think was her way of saying is it something that I did or didn't do, and what was it, whether it was in the womb or since then. This is the same woman who thinks that my hair is this lighter color because I eat too much American food. So, that's one of the things she said. It was very sad for me. And then another thing she said is she actually asked me, she said, do you still get your period? I wish I could have laughed then. But my older brother, who was in the room, thankfully responded, and he said, Mom, she's not a man. Which was good, because it's true. Yeah, so again, right, my mom just has this perception that it's something about my body that is off, that is not like her body. And so she keeps going to this place. Now, it was really, really hard. It's funny now, but it was really difficult. I cried a lot during this conversation. And when it finally ended, I remember thinking, my family has an uncanny ability to not communicate about anything. And so I don't want this to be this cool thing that I do, and then right after we leave, it all gets swept under the rug, right? And I thought, well, one of the easiest, best ways to keep it on the table is if I just had a girlfriend to bring home. So I really wished that I could have had this conversation and then been now my girlfriend who's been waiting in the car all this time, right? But I wasn't dating anybody at the time, so I could not do that. And in fact, I did not find someone to date and bring home to my parents until 4 more years. So now in 2010, in the spring of that year, I actually quit my job to go on this social justice bus tour called the Equality Ride. And what it was a charter bus full of people, ages 18 to 30. And what we did was we rode around the country and visited colleges and universities with discriminatory policies against lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and queer people. And on this ride, there was a director, and her name was Kate, and Kate and I hit it off, which actually means that she really aggressively courted me, and it totally worked. So I guess in this situation, it was a powerful woman who was preying upon me, but it was consensual, and I was totally into it. So we got together then. Now, on this ride, we heard a lot of, to me, crazy things, like just hurtful things, right? So like one of the messages that we heard was a lot of comparing homosexuality to like addiction to drugs, like drug addiction, and like even like addiction to porn. So I guess it's like this perception that maybe it's something that you have that you can't change, but it's your moral obligation to like control it and not act on it, and maybe go to meetings that are anonymous or something. I'm not really sure, really at all. And then so now back when I talked to my parents in 2010, what I also did was I talked to every single one of my siblings separately. This is the only time that I've ever felt it to be a burden to have 6 siblings. And one of my siblings, my sister, said to me, well, Jen, I think that you probably don't want to change this, but I personally know people that have been cured of this, and they are now living as straight people. That exact message was something that we heard a lot on the Equality Ride as well. The common term for it is like ex-gay therapy, like this idea that you can go through some therapeutic stuff, and then now you are ex-gay. Like not a superhero apparently, but just ex-gay. So there was a lot of that happening too. Now, obviously, right, like all of these messages that I've been hearing my whole life, that I should change, I should be fixed, I should be cured, are based on this idea that I am sick, or like broken, or wrong, right? And I have always been very lucky to never feel that way. Like I've never felt wrong, and I've never internalized that message to like make myself all messed up inside. Until recently. Because Kate, we're still together, my partner and I are trying to have a baby. Now way back when I was 15 and all the stuff came to light and then hit the fan, one of my sisters was Mormon at the time. And she wrote me a letter, a long dramatic letter, about how she'd been crying and praying for the entire night before she could finally just get words down on paper. And so this letter says things like, the devil is very real. And if the devil can get everyone in the world to be gay, there will be no more procreation, and he will have won. And I remember she wrote, and the parts don't fit. And she underlined it. Now, she's right. For the purposes of procreation, Kate's parts and my parts do not fit. And in my ideal fantasy world, right, like I have finally found a woman that I'm in love with, and like I'm madly in love with. So what I would love to be able to do is to make love to this person and make a baby. Like there are few things in the world that are more awesome than that to me. And it is physically, humanly impossible for me to do that. I cannot do it. So for the first time, of all things, the thing that I would love to change about myself is that I wish I had sperm. Like, I will tell you what is unnatural. It is unnatural for a lesbian to be so preoccupied with sperm. But I so am. I just want sperm. And so, when I say that we're trying to have a baby, that's something that's very different than when a man and a woman say they're trying to have a baby. If we tried that way, we would be trying for a very long time, and we would not have any success. So trying for us means a lot of different stuff, okay? Like, first of all, Kate's the one that wants to carry the baby. And unfortunately, she has a medical condition that means that her ovulation is not regular. And maybe even not happening, like we're not even sure. So we've gone through drastic lifestyle changes. We're trying to do it with diet first, so we're taking out refined sugar and caffeine and gluten. We've gotten rid of all chemicals, like all of our cleaning supplies, all of our toiletries. She's going to see an acupuncturist. We're gonna have to find like a fertility specialist soon because changes are happening in her body and we don't know what they mean or if they're good or bad. And then we have to find a sperm donor who we want it to be known. We don't want it to be anonymous, so we have people in mind, but we have to see if they actually want to do this. If you know anybody, please. Vietnamese. We're looking for Vietnamese sperm donor because I'm Vietnamese. So we have to do all that too. Now with that, right, of course we have to find a lawyer, a very expensive lawyer, to draw up papers that say terrible things on them that you don't ever want to think about, like what happens if the sperm donor eventually wants custody of this baby and tries to take it, right? And then, because Kate's carrying the baby, I am going to have to adopt our baby. It's called second parent adoption. And in Virginia, where we live, where I was born and raised, second parent adoption does not happen. So I have to think about moving to Maryland or DC or some other place that will allow me to adopt my baby. So there's just a lot, right? Like a lot that I don't know. Plus, I think that I do ovulate regularly, but I have never had a natural inclination to want to carry a baby. And I feel really bad about that. Like maybe I should just want to and like suck it up and like what's my problem? So there's all this stuff that we don't know. We've tried so hard, but then there's still like so much more that we have to do and so far to go. And all I can really do sometimes when I get really down is tell myself, right, like, okay, if I have come this far, defying nature, just by living and loving, then I can for damn sure defy nature even harder and have a baby with my special lady.